I'm Eleanor, 34, HR manager. Been here 6 years, worked my way up from HR coordinator, spent most of my career managing HR for the engineering and IT departments. Those departments were like 85% male. Typical tech bro paradise. Always bothered me how few women were in those spaces. Made it my personal mission to change the culture here. Every hiring meeting, I'd push for more female candidates. Every performance review, I'd scrutinize whether women were being treated fairly. Started women's leadership circles, mentorship programs, all that. Some guys started calling me the gender police behind my back. Didn't care. They just felt threatened by progress. The engineering and IT teams were honestly easy to manage from HR perspective. Barely any interpersonal conflicts. Maybe once every few months, some guy would complain about another guy. Hey, Eleanor, Mark keeps leaving his grunch containers in the shared fridge. Or, can you tell Steven to wear headphones? His music is too loud. Solve it in 5 minutes. Everyone moves on. Performance reviews were straightforward, metrics based. Nobody cried. Nobody took feedback personally. Just okay. I'll work on that and done. Team meetings were efficient, agenda focused. Honestly, kind of boring from a people management perspective, but I knew it was only calm because of male emotional repression. They were probably bottling everything up, creating toxic masculinity. That's what I told myself anyway. The lack of open emotional communication was clearly unhealthy. Men just didn't know how to express feelings properly. Then last year, company decided to expand customer service department. Previously, it was like 8 people mixed gender handling basic client issues. Company landed 3 huge contracts needed to scale up fast. Customer service would go from 8 people to 35 people. CEO asked me to oversee the hiring and manage HR for this expansion. This was my moment, my chance to build something better from the ground up. Spent weeks crafting the perfect job descriptions. Made sure the language was inclusive and welcoming. Advertised on platforms that reached women specifically. During interviews, I prioritized candidates who aligned with my values. Women who talked about emotional intelligence, empathy, communication skills. These were the skills that mattered in customer service, not the aggressive, competitive traits men brought to everything. Ended up hiring 27 new people for customer service. All women. Well, there were a few qualified male candidates, but I found reasons to pass on them. Not the right culture fit. Seemed a bit too assertive for a service role. Didn't demonstrate enough emotional awareness. The final customer service team was 32 women, 3 men. The 3 men were holdovers from the original small team. Honestly thought about managing them out, but seemed too obvious. Didn't matter. They'd be completely outnumbered. Anyway, I was so proud of what I built. An almost entirely female department in a tech company wrote a long post about it on the company internal blog, talked about creating space for women's voices, how customer service required emotional labor that women excelled at, how this was correcting historical imbalances in tech. Got so many likes from other women in the company. Few male engineers left laughing emoji reactions, reported them to their managers for creating a hostile environment. First few weeks seemed great. Women were chatting, bonding, forming connections. So much more warmth than the cold engineering department. This was what a healthy workplace looked like. People actually talking about their lives, their feelings, not just staring at screens in silence like the dev team. Then the messages started coming in. Week 3, got a ping from Jessica. Hey, Elena, do you have a few minutes to chat? Something came up with the team. Figured it was a policy question or something. Nope. Jessica came to my office nearly in tears. It's about what happened in the team meeting yesterday. What happened in the team meeting yesterday? I wasn't there. It was just their department stand-up. Stephanie said my idea about the new call writing system was interesting. Okay, and the way she said it, Eleanor, the tone, it was so dismissive. Like she was talking down to me. And then she smiled at Amanda right after she said it. They've been having lunch together every day this week. I think they're forming an alliance against me. Spent 40 minutes talking Jessica down from this, explained that interesting is a neutral word. Maybe Stephanie didn't mean anything by it. Maybe they're just friends, not an alliance. Jessica left, still unconvinced. You weren't there. You didn't hear how she said it. Thought that was a one-off. Next day, Stephanie requested a meeting. Oh, great. Here we go. I heard Jessica came to talk to you. How word travels fast, apparently. I want you to know my side of the story. There are sides now. I never said anything dismissive to Jessica. I genuinely thought her idea was interesting, as in worth exploring. But she's been so sensitive lately about everything. Last week, I asked if she was tired, and she took it as me saying she looked bad. I was just concerned because she mentioned not sleeping well. Now, she barely talks to me, and she's been having coffee with Rachel and Megan every morning. I think she's telling them her version of events. This was starting to feel like high school. But okay, miscommunication happens. We can work through this. Sent a nice email to the whole customer service team. Reminder about assuming positive intent, direct communication, professional courtesy. Thought that would help. It did not help. Next week, got an email from Amanda, 3 full paragraphs about how my email was clearly directed at her, even though I sent it to everyone. The part about professional courtesy felt very pointed, especially after I took a personal day last Friday. I submitted my PTO request properly. If there's an issue with me taking time off, I'd appreciate directness. Had to schedule a meeting to clarify that no, it wasn't about her. She seemed relieved, but also kind of disappointed, like she wanted there to be drama. Month 2, the 3 guys in the department requested a meeting together. Uh-oh. What now? Were they going to complain about being minorities in the department? Ready to shut that down real quick. They sat down looking uncomfortable. David spoke first. Eleanor, we wanted to give you a heads up about the team dynamics. Things are getting pretty tense, and we're not sure how to handle it. Ask them to elaborate. Michael jumped in. There are like 4 different lunch groups now, and they won't mix. Jessica's group, Stephanie's group, the morning shift group, and the new hires, and they all talk about each other. David, again, yesterday someone cried in the break room because someone else heated up fish in the microwave. But it wasn't about the fish. It was about not being considerate of shared spaces, which turned into a thing about who gets to use the microwave when, which turned into who takes longer lunch breaks, which turned into who's actually pulling their weight on the team. This seemed like an exaggeration. Told them that some adjustment period drama was normal with the new team. They needed to be patient and supportive. Probably their male energy was making the women uncomfortable, suggested they be more mindful of the space they were taking up. They exchanged looks. Tim said, "We barely talk in meetings anymore. We just do our work." Good. Listen more, talk less, I told them. But then I started paying closer attention, sitting in on their team meetings as an observer. First meeting, agenda item, updates on the new ticketing system. Rachel was presenting her analysis of response times. She's talking, showing charts, pretty straightforward stuff. Notice Stephanie was taking notes, but also glancing at Jessica. Jessica was looking at her phone. Rachel wrapped up, asked for questions. Jennifer raised her hand. I just want to say I think we need to be mindful of how we present data. Some people learn differently, and charts aren't accessible to everyone. Rachel looked confused. Do you have a vision issue? I can make the font bigger. No, it's not about that. It's about learning styles and inclusivity. Some of us are more verbal processes. This turned into a 15-minute discussion about presentation methods. Nothing got decided. They moved on. Next agenda item, customer feedback scores. Jennifer noted that her scores were slightly lower than average. Team lead Sarah suggested maybe reviewing some call recordings together to identify areas for improvement. Standard professional development stuff. Jennifer's eyes got watery. I feel like I'm being singled out. Nobody else's scores are being discussed. This feels very targeted. Sarah backtracked immediately. Oh no, I didn't mean it that way at all. We can review everyone's calls if that feels more fair. Jennifer, now it seems like you're making extra work because of me. Sarah looked desperately at me. I suggested maybe we table this discussion for individual one-on-ons. Jennifer nodded, but looked upset for the rest of the meeting. After the meeting, Sarah pulled me aside. This happens constantly now. Any feedback is taken as a personal attack. I don't know how to manage performance if I can't discuss performance. Told her she needed to work on her delivery. Be more gentle. Maybe sandwich criticism between compliments. She sighed, said she'd try. The next week got simultaneous emails from 4 different people all about the same incident. Apparently, in the team chat, Amanda had said, "Let's circle back on this tomorrow when everyone's fresh." Lauren had interpreted this as Amanda calling her mentally tired. Amanda insisted she meant the end of the workday. Everyone is tired at 4 p.m. But then Stephanie jumped in and said, actually, she wasn't tired. She was very productive in the afternoon. Was Amanda saying afternoon people were less valid than morning people? Amanda said that's not what she meant at all. Then Jessica said the phrase circle back was corporate jargon and maybe they should communicate more authentically. Megan said circle back was a normal phrase and policing language was problematic. Jessica said she wasn't policing, she was suggesting. Megan said the suggestion felt like policing. This went on for 87 messages in the team chat. I counted. Had to send another team email about keeping chat focused on work topics. Got 3 responses asking what I meant by work topics. Was I saying their communication style wasn't professional? Was I monitoring their messages? This felt like surveillance. Had to clarify in another email, which generated more questions. Month 3, the situation somehow escalated. 2 separate people requested to work from home permanently because of hostile work environment. When I pressed for details, certain people exclude others from conversations. There's a group that always goes to lunch together, and they laugh loudly when they come back. It feels very cliquey and exclusionary. Asked if anyone had invited them to lunch. I shouldn't have to be invited. They should naturally include everyone. Suggested they invite themselves or start their own lunch group. That's not the point. Eleanor started getting complaints about the kitchen. Someone left a passive-aggressive note about loading the dishwasher correctly. This triggered a series of counter notes. Then, someone posted in the team chat about mutual respect in shared spaces. Someone else said notes were hostile communication. Someone said the word hostile was too strong and created drama. Someone else said tone policing word choices was silencing. I had to have a meeting about kitchen etiquette, a meeting about loading the dishwasher. It lasted an hour. No consensus was reached. Someone cried. Meanwhile, I checked in with the engineering team lead, asked how things were going, any conflicts I should know about. He looked confused. Nah, everything's fine. Why? Told him I was just doing regular check-ins. Oh well, Brandon and Kyle disagreed about code review practices last week. Oh no. What happened? They talked about it for like 10 minutes and picked an approach. That's it. Yeah. Why should there be more? The customer service team had 3 people in crying in the bathroom that same week, 2 separate mediation sessions I had to facilitate, and 4 angry emails about various perceived slights. Then the birthday incident happened. Someone organized a birthday celebration for Amanda. Got a cake card, sang happy birthday, normal office stuff. Nice gesture, right? Wrong. Rachel's birthday had been 2 weeks prior. She got a card passed around. No cake. Now Rachel was upset that Amanda got a cake and she didn't. The person who organized Amanda's party, Jennifer, said she didn't know Rachel well enough to organize something. Rachel said birthdays were public information on the company calendar. Jennifer said she meant emotionally know her, like they weren't close. Rachel said, so there's an in-group and an out-group. Jennifer said that's not what she meant. Stephanie jumped in, saying actually she'd offered to organize something for Rachel, but Rachel had said she didn't want to fuss. Rachel said she was just being humble. Obviously, she wanted something. Stephanie said she couldn't read minds. Rachel said emotional intelligence means picking up on social cues. This turned into a whole thing about who gets celebrations and why. I tried to solve this by creating a birthday committee, standardized celebrations for everyone. Got complaints that this was too rigid and impersonal. Some people didn't want to celebrate birthdays for personal reasons, but also didn't want to be excluded, but also didn't want attention, but also didn't want to be forgotten. Created a birthday preference form. Got complaints. The form was too invasive. Month 4, I was spending 70% of my time on customer service issues. The remaining 30% was split between all other departments. Engineering, IT, sales, marketing, finance combined needed less attention than this one department. Ticket resolution times for customer service were declining. Actual work was suffering because of all the interpersonal drama. Customers were complaining about slow response times. CEO called me in. What's going on with customer service? Metrics are down across the board. Tried to explain it was growing pains. New team formation. Eleanor. It's been 4 months. This should be smoothing out, not getting worse. The old customer service team was half this size and handled nearly the same volume. He pulled up performance data before the expansion, minimal HR incidents, steady performance. After the expansion, HR incidents up 300%, performance declining. He asked what changed. Told him it was the growing size. More people means more complexity. He pointed out that engineering had grown by 40 people last year, with no incident increase. I said different types of work, different dynamics. He looked skeptical. Then he dropped the bomb. I've gotten feedback from the 3 guys in customer service. They've requested transfers to other departments, all 3 of them. All 3. They said the work environment has become impossible. Too much drama, too much emotional intensity, can't get work done. Told him they probably just couldn't handle working with strong women. He gave me a look. Eleanor, these guys have great performance records and have never requested anything before. Maybe listen to what they're saying. I was furious. Called a meeting with David, Michael, and Tim, asked them directly what their problem was. They were surprisingly honest. David, every single day there's a new conflict about something that doesn't matter. Last week, there was a 2-hour discussion about whether saying, "Hey guys," was gendered language. People are keeping lists of who said what in which meeting weeks ago. Everything is interpreted in the worst possible way. Michael, I suggested we focus on clearing the ticket queue during a meeting. Got accused of being dismissive of people's feelings and prioritizing productivity over wellness. I just wanted to do the actual job. Tim, I'm afraid to say anything because it might be taken the wrong way. I've seen people get accused of microaggressions for normal sentences. Someone said, let's be reasonable about this, and got told that reasonable was coded language. I don't even know what that means. I'm 90 grants. Told them they needed to be more patient, more understanding. This was what real emotional availability looked like. They weren't used to it because of their socialization. David said, Eleanor, I have 3 sisters and my mom. I grew up around women. This isn't about women. This is about this specific environment you've created. You've hired people who seem to prioritize feelings over function. That stung, but I wasn't going to let them see that. Told them their transfers would be processed. Good riddance to their negative energy. But then their departure created new drama. Some women in the department felt abandoned. The men are leaving because they can't handle strong women. Other women said actually the men were smart to get out. This created a rift between those 2 groups. Got accused of forcing the men out. Also got accused of not forcing them out sooner. Couldn't win. Month 5, I started actually tracking the types of issues I was dealing with. Customer Service Department, 47 interpersonal. Conflicts requiring HR intervention. All other departments combined, 12. Customer Service was 35 people. All other departments combined were 180 people. The math was damning. Types of conflicts in customer service. Tone of voice in meetings, 8 incidents. Perceived exclusion from social groups, 11 incidents. Interpretation of written messages, 9 incidents. Unequal treatment allegations, 7 incidents. Emotional reactions to feedback, 6 incidents. Other 6 incidents. Types of conflicts in other departments. Actual policy violations, 4. Genuine harassment, all resolved quickly. 2 equipment, resource disputes. 3 workload distribution, 3. I started sitting in on other department meetings to compare engineering team meeting agenda updates, problem solving done in 30 minutes. Someone disagreed about technical approach, they debated for 5 minutes. Lead made a decision. Everyone moved on. No hurt feelings, no follow-up emails, no crying. IT team meeting, similar guy presented a solution. Another guy said it wouldn't work. Slight back and forth. Okay, test it, and we'll see. Done. Customer service meeting that same week. Sarah tried to introduce a new script for handling refund requests. Jennifer said the script felt inauthentic. Stephanie said she felt the current approach was fine. Rachel said some people needed more structure. Amanda said that was implying some people were less capable. Rachel said that's not what she meant. Megan said the subtext was clear. Rachel asked what subtext. This continued for 25 minutes. No decision was made. Sarah looked exhausted. Meeting ended with, Let's continue this discussion in a follow-up meeting. The follow-up meeting had its own follow-up meeting. Still no decision on the script. People were using whatever approach they wanted. Consistency was non-existent. Customer experience was suffering. I tried to convince myself this was still growing. Pains that eventually they'd settle into a rhythm, that this level of emotional processing was healthy. Actually better than the repressed male way of avoiding feelings. But I was spending 30 plus hours a week managing drama in one department. Couldn't ignore it anymore. My own performance was suffering. CEO had already commented on it. Other departments were getting less HR support because of customer service. Started having doubts. Late night thoughts I'd never admit out loud. Was this my fault? Had I created this? No, couldn't be. This was just what happened when women felt safe to express themselves. The problem was that professional environments had always been designed for male communication styles. Yes, that was it. This was actually revolutionary. Just uncomfortable, because it was different. Tried to convince myself this was true. But then month 6 happened, the pronouns incident. Jennifer updated her email signature to include pronouns. Completely fine. Encouraged, even. Rachel then updated hers. Then Stephanie. Then it became a thing. Someone noticed that Amanda hadn't updated hers, asked her about it in the team chat. Amanda said she preferred not to. This created a massive debate. Some people said it was about inclusivity. Amanda said she felt it was performative. Someone said calling it performative was dismissive of trans people. Amanda said she wasn't dismissing anyone, just making a personal choice. Someone said personal choices have political implications. This went on for days. Had to have a meeting about email signature protocols. Couldn't believe this was my job. Tried to make a policy. Pronouns are optional, but encouraged. Got pushback from both sides. Some wanted them mandatory. Others wanted the topic dropped entirely. Someone cried about feeling unsafe. Someone else cried about feeling policed. I cried later in my office alone. That weekend, I went through all my HR records. Compared year-over-year data, though, when I managed primarily engineering and IT. Average time spent on interpersonal conflicts, 3 hours per week. Number of formal complaints, 2 to 3 per month. Most common issues, actual policy stuff, occasional personality clash. Resolution time, usually one conversation. Now, with customer service taking up most of my focus, average time on interpersonal conflicts, 30 plus hours per week. Number of formal complaints, 15 to 20 per month. Most common issues, feelings, perceived slights, tone, exclusion, interpretation. Resolution time ongoing. Nothing ever fully resolved. The data was screaming at me. Everything I believed was being challenged by reality. I'd created an all-female department thinking it would be harmonious. Thinking women's communication styles were superior. Thinking emotional intelligence would create better team dynamics. Instead, I had triple the drama. Actual work was suffering. People were miserable. I was miserable. Customers were getting worse service. Tried one more thing. Brought in a team consultant, someone who specialized in team dynamics and communication. Expensive, but maybe worth it. Consultant observed for 2 weeks, then gave me her assessment. Your team has no conflict resolution skills. Everyone is so focused on validating feelings that no one makes decisions. There's no clear hierarchy or decision-making structure. Everything is processed emotionally rather than logically. People take professional disagreement as personal rejection. There's too much emphasis on consensus and not enough on effectiveness. I asked what she recommended. Honestly, bring in some people who can model direct communication. Set clearer boundaries between personal and professional. Make it clear that disagreement isn't attack. Prioritize outcomes over feelings. This felt like betrayal. She was supposed to validate my approach. Told her that sounded like masculine corporate toxicity. She shrugged. Call it what you want, but your current approach isn't working. You can have psychological safety without processing every emotion. You can validate people without endless discussion. Right now, you have neither safety nor productivity. CEO called me in again the next week. Customer service metrics were now at crisis levels. Ticket backlog was massive. Customer satisfaction scores tanking. 3 clients had complained about poor service. Eleanor, we need to make changes. I'm bringing in someone from outside to co-manage customer service with Sarah. Asked who? His name is Marcus. He managed customer service at a larger company before. A man. He was bringing in a man to fix my department. He has experience with teams this size and proven results. I felt sick. This was my failure. Everything I'd built was falling apart. Worse, it was being saved by exactly what I'd tried to avoid. Marcus started the next month. First thing he did, implemented clear decision-making processes. No more endless discussions. Feedback is given directly and briefly. Disagreements are voiced, discussed for set time, then decided. Work chat is for work only. Created a separate optional social channel. Set boundaries. Some of the women hated it at first. This feels very authoritarian. We're not being heard. Marcus, you're being heard, then we're moving forward. We have customers waiting. But slowly things started to shift. Fewer meetings about meetings, decisions actually getting made. When someone took feedback personally, Marcus would say, "This is about the work, not about you as a person," and move on. Tickets started getting resolved faster. People had less time to ruminate on perceived slights. The drama started decreasing. Not gone, but noticeably less. 3 months after Marcus joined, customer service metrics back to acceptable levels. HR incidents down by 60%, still higher than other departments, but not crisis level. People seemed less stressed. Some actually thanked Marcus for the structure. I felt completely bewildered. Everything I believed about team dynamics was wrong. The all-female environment I'd created had been a disaster. It took a man implementing masculine corporate structure to fix it. The irony was devastating. CEO noticed my confusion in our one-on-one. Eleanor, you look troubled. I admitted I didn't understand what happened. I thought creating space for women would lead to better collaboration. Instead, it was chaos until Marcus brought in structure. He was surprisingly gentle. Eleanor, maybe the issue wasn't women versus men. Maybe it was that you selected for certain traits and created an echo chamber. You hired people who prioritized emotional processing above all else, then put them in an environment where that was the only valued skill. No balance, no diversity of approach. He continued, the engineering team works well, and it's not all men. We have women engineers who are great. The difference is they were hired for technical skills and professional communication, not for their approach to feelings. This hit hard. I had hired for ideology, not ability. Selected people who matched my worldview, created a monoculture, then was shocked when it had the weaknesses of any monoculture. The male-dominated teams I'd managed before worked well, not because of maleness, but because they had clear goals, direct communication, and emotional boundaries. The mess I'd created wasn't because of femaleness, but because I'd specifically selected for and encouraged the worst dynamics, prioritized validation over results, feelings over function, process over progress. Spent a lot of time thinking about this, about how my ideology had blinded me, how I'd created the exact problem I thought I was solving, how my assumptions about gender and communication were completely wrong. The engineering teams didn't have less drama because men suppress emotions. They had less drama because they kept professional and personal separate, communicated directly, resolved conflicts quickly, focused on work. My all-female customer service team had massive drama. Not because women are dramatic, but because I created an environment where emotional processing was prioritized over everything. Hired people who saw every interaction through a personal lens, encouraged reading into subtext and tone, made feelings the center of every discussion. Worst part, I couldn't even talk about this revelation with anyone. My whole identity was wrapped up in my beliefs about gender and workplace dynamics. Admitting I was wrong felt impossible. All my friends would think I'd betrayed feminism. All my colleagues would say, "I told you so." But sitting in my office looking at the data, comparing the before and after, seeing how Marcus fixed in 3 months what I couldn't fix in 6, the truth was undeniable. I had been completely, utterly wrong. About team dynamics, about gender and communication, about what makes a workplace functional, about everything I'd built my career on. The male-dominated teams I'd resented were actually well-functioning. The all-female team I'd proudly created was a disaster. Not because of gender, but because of the specific culture and values I'd cultivated. I had been insufferable, preachy about things I didn't understand, blind to reality because of ideology. And ultimately, I'd hurt the very people I thought I was helping. The women in customer service were stressed and miserable in my system. They were performing better and seemed happier under Marcus's structure. Everything I believed was backwards. But I still show up to work every day. Still smile. Still pretend I knew this would work out. Still take credit when people praise the turnaround. Never mention that everything I did made it worse. Never mention that I was wrong because admitting it would mean dismantling my entire worldview. And I'm not ready for that. Maybe never will be. So I just sit here managing HR, watching Marcus successfully run the department I destroyed, being bewildered by reality, and having no idea what to believe anymore. Be me, Eleanor. I played myself. If this confession kept you hooked, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We share powerful true stories every day that explore the complex realities of life.